Is your company vulnerable to fraud? Information is the new currency. The library was hacked. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Boss Chronicles, where I unpack books, leadership literature that can help you on your journey as an entrepreneur or as an executive, but most importantly, as a leader. So today, I'm going to be unpacking the book, Crisis Management, Master the Art to Prevent Disasters. Now, this is a Harvard Business Essentials, and the advisor for this book was Larry Barton, but the writer is Richard Loki. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you like this episode, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We will get started. Now, when it comes to crisis management and how to master it, you need to have a PR team. You need to have a support team that is not only putting your business out there in the world, but also when disaster strikes, how do you control it? And this is essential. Now, in one of my past episodes where I unpacked the book Conscious Leadership, I shared about postmortem and premortem. So when you're working towards a goal, or if you're working towards a solution towards something, most people, after they've achieved their mission, what they do is they have that debrief afterwards. What worked, what didn't work. But in that book, Conscious Leadership, it talks about the premortem. So you have to look prior to sitting down and setting out the mission, the goals for perhaps the project that you're working on. What are some of the pitfalls that can happen? Where can we possibly be stagnant? What problems may arise? And so the premortem, which a lot of leaders don't necessarily talk about, and or business advisors, is a necessity, especially during this season of conscious leadership, conscious business, conscious consumerism. And so this book is very impactful today, where I'm unpacking crisis management, because once you start doing the pre-mortem work, the beginning stages of the work, and you can kind of navigate and see what potential crisis may arise, now it becomes easier for you and your team to be effective, to address it immediately so it doesn't get carried away, or it doesn't ruin the business. Now, you may think to yourself, I have a small business, perhaps I'm a startup. I don't need a PR team. I don't need to know about press releases. I don't need to have like a crisis management team. And I'm here to tell you that yes, you do. If you are working for a company, yes, you do. They have a PR team, and you will see this in major corporations. They have their own team that is there to share with the public when a disaster happens or something's going wrong, how they're going to navigate through that situation. Why? Because at the end of the day, they still need to keep their business. Right? The business is still moving forward, and if they don't address it and if they don't handle the crisis properly, what's going to happen? Well, they don't have a business anymore. People have lost their jobs, and the service that they are providing to the world or to their target audience no longer is going to serve. I will give an example. When Coca-Cola now started, one of the things that they used was pure, illegal drugs in there. And you guys know what it is, like the cocaine. But it was in small doses. Now, over the years, things have changed, and so they switched up the recipes after many years. Now, when Coca-Cola now started, and that's what they were using, right? Certain opioids. But now, they're using sugar, which is the new opioid, and everyone in the world is eating sugar. But that is not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss how to navigate and master crisis management. So I'll just give you a total review of the book. And don't forget to take a look back at Conscious Leadership, the Conscious Leader podcast, because there in that specific unpacking, I share a section about the value and the importance of pre-mortem and post-mortem, and how that is going to help your team when it comes to any sort of crisis that may and or may not arise. It's better to be prepared than not prepared. If you're not prepared, people don't know what to say. They can go out there and say whatever they want, which can affect your business, not in a good way, all right? Especially now with cancel culture and all of the things that's there. So you need a PR team. That's where I'm going to start. That's where I'm really going to focus on in this book. There's a lot of points, and I highly suggest, if you are starting a business, if you have a business, and if you have been in business for a long time, 5, 10 years, however long, regardless of the size of your business, you need to understand this, and you need to have a PR department. You have a marketing department, you have a sales department, you need a PR department. Maybe it's a PR team of 1. It may only be yourself, but it is important. When we think PR, it is long term. It is ever going. So you will see in some businesses every month, maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, their name is always in the news. Everyone knows their name. Yes, sometimes they have influencers and they have all these collaborations, et cetera, et cetera. They have their commercials or campaigns. But even in a slower season, their name, for example, Amazon, X, whatever company it is, Nike, they are always in the news in some way, shape, or form. If it's not on TV, it's digitally, which almost everything is, or in print. And the reason why they have that is because they need to be top of mind. When people see you, they will get to know you. Once they get to know you, they get to trust you. And so this is why your PR team is important. This is why, regardless of the size of your business, PR, public relations, is a necessity. So you, business owner, me, business owner, we have social media. Maybe we've been on a few podcasts. Perhaps you have been on TV at your local station. Perhaps you have done interviews for some magazine articles that are international, regardless of wherever you are. That is PR. Now people are getting to know you. You're building up your credibility so that other people can get to know you. On your social media channel, your marketing team that is there doing all the work that they're doing, they're not just marketing. They're helping and supporting your PR team, your public relations, because they're also part of it too. So your marketing team is instrumental in your business. When they're out there writing the captions and putting together the graphics and doing all of those things, they are presenting your business in a holistic, credible way, so that consumers, your audience, those who you're going to be serving, they can connect with you on a deeper level. They can get to know you. They can get to like you and trust you and recommend you and reshare all of these things. But what happens when there is a crisis? Do you know what to do? And a crisis can just be bad reviews. That's a start. We've seen, there was a few years ago, and I was reading about this many years ago, so that's how I know about it. A company was very popular, a small mom and shop eatery shop. They were very popular. They were doing very well for themselves, brick and mortar place, and a company hijacked them uh, through their through hacking on their internet, and said, if you don't pay X amount of dollars, we're going to ruin your business. Now, this is a small mom and pop shop, and they weren't thinking internet security. They weren't thinking any of these things. And then they just let it slide. What happened and what proceeded to happen was whoever sent them that email started to put bad reviews, low reviews, tons and tons and tons of them, just everywhere. And because of that, now they are labeled as, what is being presented. Now the internet doesn't know left like if it's true or not. They're just getting the reviews. Google doesn't know. Um, and in saying that, because they weren't prepared in the event of this particular attack and in this particular crisis, yes, they ended up in the newspaper. Yes, they ended up in like digital print talking about what happened to them, but their business slowed down and then they eventually had to close. Now, this was a business that has been around for many years, for decades. They were a pillar in their community, but through some bad reviews and through people just like scammers trying to get money, and they said no, they took a stand, they put up all of these reviews, and then they couldn't handle it because they didn't know what next step to take. Now, what happened to the business, I don't know. I didn't follow up. There wasn't a follow-up story on it, but this is an example of a PR crisis in your business. And so now we're seeing consumers and our audience being very strategic, and they're being very vigilant, right? They want to know that I can trust you. So the minute they see you on social media, or they're going on Google and typing in the name of the company or your name, and right away they're gonna look at the reviews. Right away they're gonna look at your website if you have one, or your social media channel, and or any sort of articles or podcast or news interview that you have done, because they need to know if you are credible. They want to know if you are credible. So, in saying that, now with your marketing team, if you do have one, when they're doing the posting and you do all the work, you have to be very vigilant, or they also need to be very vigilant in understanding, what to do if all of a sudden people are like, what type of messages they're sending your way, who is following, why are they following. You have to take a look at it, and then you have your team into why is these people following. Before, people didn't care, right? Oh, I need all of these followers, but now you want real followers, and you want followers who are in your target audience, who actually need and want your service. So that if there is some Yahoo, whoever, wherever they are in the middle of the world, on their computer that's trying to scam you or anyone, you are prepared. And so in the book, Crisis Management, How Do You Master It? They're telling you need to have a PR team. And it's true. You do need to have a PR team. And the PR team is there to make sure that people get to know, like, and trust you. Putting out what's going on in the business, like some of the wins and things that are happening out there, so that your target audience knows you. They're trusting you, that you're in the media. It goes on further and it talks about how to handle a crisis. Now, in this book, what I particularly like is that they have an appendix section, and then they have how to put out a press release, and then they go step by step of what your PR team needs to do. I'm not going into depth with it because although the book is small, it is powerful. It has all of the details, but it's too much to go into, it would just take too long because you have to unpack each chapter, and each chapter has like 4 to 6 points that is like necessary for your team. So this is why I highly recommend you either borrow the book from your library or buy it yourself, because it has the value. You're getting absolute value for either what you're paying for and or what you're borrowing from the library if you borrow it. So it has the appendix, and as I mentioned, the appendix is giving you additional readings. It's letting you know like the different points. It's showing you how to write a press release. It's even giving you the opportunity to have a worksheet which captures the crisis, right? And the crisis or the problem. What actions need to be taken? What did you learn, or what do you think you need to learn? This is the postmortem piece, and what is preventative action for the future. It also talks about 30 warning signs for potential trouble. There are warning signs that would show its face or rear its head, dare I say, before trouble starts brewing or starts popping up. And I will give one issue. If it says, are your department's or company's profits declining? Now, it may not seem like it's a PR crisis, but it is. And so this is where your sales team now comes into play. You need to be on top of that and understanding what's not happening. Earlier, I talked about your marketing team is like an essential. It is an essential. That team should not be taken lightly. They're like your best friend, your marketing team, your sales team as well. They go hand in hand. But if something is in a decline, especially your profits, there is an issue. There is a problem. Now you need to figure out why. And then you go back to the marketing team. What's going on? How are the people responding? Why are they not responding? Your PR team will also go out and connecting with your marketing team to figure out, okay, what's the issue? When does this get started? What campaign did we put out in the last few months? What was successful or not successful? So all of the notes that you're taking, your team is taking, it is key. This is why your marketing team is so essential to support your sales, to support your PR. So you're seeing everything starting to flow, right? They're all connected. They're all connected. And once you understand this, then you can take that moment and go through and say, okay, our problem is, or the issue is, profits are declining. What action should we take? Well, what do we need to do? What did we learn from it? What is preventative action? So this is the problem. When did it start? What actions did we take? What did we learn from this problem? And how can we prevent it in the future? All top companies do this. Always. You need to do it too. So that means the meetings that you're having once a week with your team or once a month with your team members, whoever they are, you need to be abreast of every detail. Allow them to do their job. Yes, they need to do their work. They're good at what they do. That's why you hired them. You guys are all aligned. But then you have to be aware and pay attention to any issues or problems or potential crisis that may be brewing. So it's easy for you to kind of nip it in the butt before it gets out of hand. Another one that they talk about that can be potential problem or trouble like that can cause a warning sign is your company vulnerable to fraud? Is the company vulnerable to fraud? You have to ask yourself this. Can someone take my stuff? Am I protected? Do I have trademark? Do I have patents? This is where all of your team, your legal team, your PR team, they're all essential and they're all working together. You may not think that that your company, if you're now starting out, is vulnerable to fraud, but it is. We see every single day accounts are being hacked. Accounts are being hacked. There are big bookstores. There's a bookstore in one of the biggest bookstores where I am. They were hacked and shut down for a good 2 weeks. The library, where like people are going, the library was hacked where I was. Was it last year? I believe it was last year. Yes, it was hacked. They were shut down for months. People were returning their books, but even though they're returning their books, it was very hard because now the system crashed. You couldn't get anything else out. Why? Because they were vulnerable. And one is the public library. Who would think the public library? But of course, people want emails, people want names, people want information. Information is the new currency. And then, of course, the same thing, a huge bookstore, the biggest bookstore where I'm from, like nationally shut down because they were vulnerable to fraud. They were vulnerable to hacking. And because they were not prepared, these are big institutions, they were not prepared. And so everything kind of shut down. They had to reorg. They had to get a new team to kind of fix the issue. They had to hire on new people. They had to do a whole bunch of press stuff to, reassure their customers that yes, you can still trust us. Yes, we're still credible. Yes, your information was not compromised. Now, is it true or not? I don't know. That's what they said. Is it true? Who knows? But there's a very high likelihood that people's information were compromised. Very, very high likelihood. And so this is where you need your team kind of set up. It doesn't matter if it's small, even if it's you in the beginning, you have to to take a look at all of these steps, all of these things to help you navigate through any potential crisis that may arise. So if and or when a crisis rears its head, you are prepared. Your team is prepared. They will know. Don't go and talk to anyone that's saying, can you share some information or some insights? I know you're in this company and you belong in this department. No. Right? You have to let your people know. Anything will be sent out via, this department. Always refer them there. And you will see that. You will see that a lot of the times when there's a crisis out and journalists are trying to get information and they start contacting different heads of department to get like a story, to get information. And generally you'll hear either the no comment or please refer to, Jane Smith in our PR specialist or our marketing department or whoever it is that's in charge of that. There's also an emergency contact list, and you might think to yourself, why an emergency contact list? Well, an emergency contact list is for exactly that. Once you are aware of a potential issue, who do you need to contact? Who do you need to support you on your team? Support you and your team, your business when the storm hits. um, and so the three most useful thing that I have found in the book is your emergency contact list, the signs. They give you 30 warning signs for potential disasters, and of course a worksheet that captures your crisis as well as the learning tools. Those are the top three things that you will need, because you will have a list of information. You need to have the people's names. You need to have contact information. You need to know what is their specialty and how they are going to help your business. You need to be aware of the potential crises that may be brewing, because are you vulnerable to fraud? Can someone steal your service? Can someone steal your product? Can they steal that idea or try to replicate it? How do you nip it in the butt right away? I will end with this story that, and this is actually what really happened. Not to me, but someone in my contact. There's a young man who he supports business owners with processes and systems, and he has a team that he trains for each business, and they come up with SOPs. They put together the SOPs and all of the things. So there's a VA that's trained for an entire month, and the VA has all the SOPs that this business needs, and to best support the entrepreneur. So the business owner, not the one in my contact, the business owner said yes. He agreed to work with the young man that's in my network, and he started working with the VA. And when he got an idea and a layout, an overall view of the system or the process, this young man said to the VA, well, like, what are your skills? Do you know other people? Because he was trying to copy the layout and then poach the VA to be on his team so he could start his own enterprise. Now, that is just the saddest thing ever. Why would he want to do that? Because he didn't want to pay for the service, even though he needed the service. That's fraud. It's fraud. And as a business owner, what this young man did that's in my network that happened to it, of course, he posted about someone trying to, to replicate his business model and poach his staff. He of course fired him and said, okay, no, we can't work together. We're no longer going to work together. But he caught it early because he had a loyal employee. He caught it early. He had a loyal employee. But what this teaches him is that he now has to put in extra precautions. So in the event that someone is successful in trying to steal his system, steal his process, steal his layout, and take his staff, what is the legal actions? What are the steps that he needs to do? So you may think to yourself, this is not going to happen to me. We never know. It's like having insurance. You pay for insurance in your car, you pay for your insurance in your home, and you may never use it. But if it's when that incident happened or something happens and you need that insurance, it's like, okay, now I got the insurance. Same thing with your crisis management. You may think, I do not need a PR team. I do not need to be in the media. I do not need to go on podcasts or have an article written about me, or make sure that my marketing team is posting effective content. that connects me and my audience together. You may not think that, but it is so necessary. It is so necessary, and it is such an essential, and I cannot stress it enough. Definitely pick up this book, Crisis Management: Master the Skill to Prevent Disasters. And it is from the Harvard Business Essentials. And as I shared, there are 3 points that really covers in there. And it talks about your emergency contact list. Who is the first person you need to call to help you in the event of that emergency? Or people that needs to be called. That you have 30 warning signs for potential crises, potential issues, and of course it goes over in a worksheet for capturing crisis learning. How can we fail forward? How can we learn from what just happened? I'm Delise Abraham, Faith and Sparkles World. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you pick up the book. Either you borrow it from the library or you buy it yourself, because it will support you as a business owner, as an executive, especially when you have teams and you're doing major projects. You have to understand the steps, the processes, so that you can be most effective. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment below. Have an incredible day, and I look forward to unpacking another leadership literature book with you next week.